Good morning, everybody. So, we are at the start of a momentous week in world politics, and that's because of the United States election, which is going to be happening on Tuesday, the 5th of November 2024. And if you believe the polls, then there is nothing separating Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. They're neck and neck. I don't believe them, actually. I think that Trump is well ahead. But there is cheating going on. They are actually making moves, the Democrats, that is, to try and steal the election, just like they did in 2020. And of course, the polls are a tool of propaganda, and they're there. And what they're doing at the moment is trying to get people to believe they're neck and neck, there's nothing in it, so that if Kamala and the Democrats can cheat in various swing states and win the election, then that's already been pre-prepared with the narrative. But also it's to try to keep people engaged in the process and the election. Because if the media station said, oh, one candidate is way, way ahead, the other one's got no chance of catching up, that doesn't make for any story. So that they're continually trying to create things to put in the news cycle, the 24/7 news cycle. And this means that you get these narratives being created, which aren't true, just so that it gives all the pundits there on all the news stations, and there are many hundreds of them, something to talk about and to keep talking about up until the election happens, and then after the election, and heaven knows what's going to happen after that. I mean, if this were a free and fair election with no interference, and everyone could vote on the day in paper on paper ballot papers that got counted on the night, then there wouldn't be a problem. And I think Trump would be well ahead and be seen to be well ahead all over the country, maybe except some of these crazy places like New York and California and so on, but been in most states. But they don't have this. They've still got these Dominion Smartmatic counting machines and automatic counting software that they use in many places. And of course, that can never be 100% secure. I mean, we heard that, I think it was Colorado, that some of the keys to actually get into the program were available on the internet for everybody to see for months. They've only just been tightened up in the security there. So there's ridiculous things going on all over the place in the same places and areas where there was trouble last time. And there was obviously jiggery pokery and cheating and ballot fraud going on there all over the place. There was this film, 2000 Mules, that explained just one aspect of it. It was very, very clear. But, I'm for Trump to win. And, the way I see this is if you have a scale between +10 and -10, well, in 2016, I would have said Trump is +10. Absolutely everything about him was wonderful and perfect. I'm not as starry-eyed now, but I'd still give him a +6 or a +7. The two things I have disagreements with are when he rolled out these experimental injections, and he said this is Project Warp Speed, I'm the father of the vaccine. I didn't agree with that at all, because these things brought death and injury to many millions of people. And also his noises on the Middle East. Again, I disagree with some of what he's saying about the conflicts in the Middle East and so on. But in terms of most things, he's really, really great. And he's going to bring jobs back to America, manufacturing to America, get rid of the net zero nonsense in the United States. As he says, drill, baby, drill. Start using oil and gas for fuel so that the United States once again becomes energy self-sufficient. He's going to tear into some of the wokery that is around, particularly the transgenderism, which of course is utter nonsense, and saying that they're not going to be able to teach this stuff in schools. You're going to kick this out of the military, get rid of all this diversity, equality and inclusion nonsense, and just take individuals on their own merits, which is what we've always done until, 10 or 20 years ago, that you employ the best person for the job, Doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter their characteristics. You look at their talents, their skills, their personality and character, obviously, as well. But you don't look at their characteristics and say, well, they're a woman, therefore they're going to get hired over a man, or they're black, so they're going to get hired over a white person, or they're white because they're going to get hired over a black person. You don't do that. You just look at the best person for the job, and that's what he will take America back to, which is basically common sense, equality of opportunity, not this Marxian, cultural Marxist ideology that is pernicious, which is you must have equality of outcomes between different characteristic groups and victim groups and so on. So that will go out of the window there. On abortion, he's going to leave that with the states, which is constitutional. So, then it's up to people in individual states to decide to vote for pro-life referenda, pro-life parties and candidates and policies in their states, which is about as good as you're going to get in the United States. It's different in European countries because, in the UK, obviously, we have a written constitution, but it's not all in one place. And, abortion is not a constitutional issue. It's come in through various laws over the years, which need to be repealed here. But you're going to get the best you possibly can with Trump on that in a presidential election. And on the other hand, Kamala Harris, on a scale of +10 to -10, is about -10, maybe -9. I don't know. Maybe she said one or two things which are not, not as bad on the Middle East, but she's pretty terrible. As for everything, she's woke. She's going to bring abortion up to birth. You're going to have all of this transgenderism all over the place. Net zero. She'll destroy manufacturing, destroy energy security. You're not going to have RFK, who you will have in Donald Trump's team, looking at making America healthy again. Kamala Harris will be in the pockets of big corporates, making GMOs and frankenfoods and all this kind of dreadful stuff. And it's going to have a negative impact around the wider world, of course. And I think the reason why everybody is so interested and so gripped by what's happening in the United States in this election is that this is not going to be just the most important election in American history. It's going to be one of the most important elections in world history for the rest of the collective West in particular, because whether you have Trump or Harris, that's going to make a huge difference to all the other countries in the orbit of the United States in the collective West as well. So it's going to affect the UK, it's going to affect Germany, France, Australia, and other countries in the West immensely, depending on who becomes president. So I want President Trump to win because that's going to have positive effects on the United Kingdom. We have the worst government in history at the moment, the Starmer regime, which is just an absolute disaster there. They're undermining free speech. They're continuing, accelerating mass immigration, both legal and illegal. Their budget is a disaster. They're hammering individuals and businesses and farmers and throwing money at these corrupt wind barons and solar barons and carbon capture and storage barons who are taking billions of pounds of subsidy for all this net zero nonsense, which isn't going to do a blind bit of good. It's not going to make a blind bit of difference to the composition of the atmosphere. It's just going to take money from hard-working people and put it in the pockets of the cronies of the state. And it's absolutely dreadful. And so they're not just destroying the country socially and culturally, they're now demolishing the economy, and they're demolishing the base, what wealth people have, not just what people earn, but they're trying to destroy and pull apart people's generational wealth in families. And this is particularly going to hurt farmers. And if you destroy farms and farmers, we don't have any food we become increasingly reliant on imports, and we've just seen what's happening in Spain with all of this flooding and these storms that are going on that seem rather unnatural, that have wrecked a lot of the greenhouses from where we get our food, because we import a lot of food from these greenhouse cities in Almeria and so on, where a lot of our vegetables, fruit and vegetables, is grown there and imported to the UK, because we stopped growing a lot of our own foods. And so if that happens, we're more reliant on foreign food imports. Something happens abroad, we don't have food security. And if the Labour government is going to destroy the farms, which it seems that they want to do, then we're going to have even less food grown in this country than we ever have done. So it's a recipe for disaster. So I'm hoping that we have a Trump victory in the United States, and that will in some way dampen the effects of this dreadful regime that we've got here in the UK, and not least by him stopping the war with Ukraine, because if that stops, then this regime we've got in the UK has pledged £3 billion per year forever, without end, to Ukraine, to the Zelensky regime. That £3 billion could be used here. I mean, you don't have to kill farms. The inheritance tax that they're going to raise from what they're doing is going to bring in less than $1 billion a year, and they're sending 3 times that out the door to Ukraine. They're destroying farms, they're destroying businesses, they're destroying individuals and families here in the UK in order to send money to Ukraine. So if Trump gets in, he's going to stop the war, and I think he will stop the war between Ukraine and Russia very, very quickly, and that means that there will be no need anymore. Not that there is anymore, but there will be even this regime we've got in the UK will not have any reason, any justification for sending more and more money over to the Zelensky regime and taking it from hardworking families, businesses and farms here in this country. So it's a very, very momentous week. So I'm praying for a Trump victory, and I know many of you are as well. Let's hope he wins in this election, and is looking good as long as they can stop the cheating from happening. It looks like we may have some pullback from the destruction and the chaos which the globalists and the New World Order have been trying to bring into the world, and we can push that back and in some way start to rebuild our civilization again. Thanks for listening, everyone. God bless you all.